Salvete multum sodales. Hello, everybody. I'm going to speak a little bit of English today. I know, it's terrible. But I'm here to talk a little bit today to you all about some stuff that's going on with us at Latinitas Anime Causa. And I figured it might be better and easier to do some of that in English than in Latin, just for the sake of clarity. But regardless, I'd love to hear how you're all doing. Scribite en locutorio, right in the chat. We gotta have some Latin, otherwise it's no good, right? Bene. So hello everyone. It's so awesome to see you all today. I see we've got some folks joining us on YouTube, some folks joining us on TikTok, some folks joining us on Twitch. Hello everyone. I realized also on TikTok I did not change the category from Helldivers. We're not doing Helldivers 2 at the moment right now. Don't worry though, you will get some Latin content, so don't worry too much. I'm just going to do a little bit of English chatting, like I said, about stuff that's new at Latinitas Anime Causa. You all already know, sure, that Latinitas Anime Causa means something like Latin for fun, Anime Causa meaning for a distraction, for fun, as opposed to our Negoti Causa, which is like for work, or honestly can mean even other things like not. Negotium as a Latin word can mean business or work, but it very often also means a problem or a difficulty, which, like, can't I relate? Folks, I'm on spring break. It's been a delightful spring break so far, hanging out with my family, hanging out with my friends. As a result, that's why a Remtene has not come out today, because I'm taking a spring break, which I'm very bad at, by the way. And I'd love to say that I'm doing nothing, but that's not true. That's not who I am. So I am doing some stuff still, even though I'm on spring break. So, anyway, bene. I'm going to transition now. I want to talk about the classes that we're offering here at LAC during springtime, because we have some wonderful offerings here. We have some new people who are joining the team, and I thought it'd be great for us to all take a look together at some of those course offerings. And I'm taking like a semi-sabbatical from spring courses, which is also a rarity for me. I'm taking a small break. I'm only teaching 2 courses. And I know for most people that's not a sabbatical, but for me, that's a sabbatical. As I do need to take some time to prep for summer. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute too. So folks, please write in the chat, scribite en locutorio, utwaleates hodie, how you all are doing today. It's lovely to see you all. Thank you for joining us. Y'all are the best. So let's jump right into it. Here's our lovely website, which is curated and developed by Ilsa Nostra Optima. And so you might have noticed that we changed our little logo here from Living Latin or Ancient Languages, but Living Ancient Languages for fun, for education, for everyone. It's not a logo, but it's a motto, a slogan. That's the word I was looking for. We live ancient languages. That's what we do. We do it in Latin. We do it in ancient Greek. And this term, we're also adding an Old English class, which I'm excited to talk to you all about. And so it's really important for us to truly live and breathe these languages if we want to understand them to their fullest, to their entirety. So let's jump into our, oh, look at these lovely flores. Son flores flawy, some lovely yellow flowers. Let's go right to the spring courses and talk a little bit about them. So, see, below you will find a selection of our courses we're offering this spring. All Latin, Ancient Greek courses presume prior knowledge of the given language. The Old English course, however, does not do so. And we have the levels Novice, Intermediate, Advanced that refer to your ability to produce the language. That is your speaking ability. It does not refer specifically to your processing ability or reading ability, of which sometimes people have more. People are liking the stream over on TikTok. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Keep it up, right? And folks here on YouTube and over on Twitch, I notice we're quite quiet today. Strange. I know I'm not speaking in Latin, but I want to talk about what these exciting things we have going on. So I'm just going to go course by course, talk a little bit about the instructor and a little bit about the course and what we're going to be doing in it, because it's a good time. So starting off with our ancient Greek course for this term, logidia. So the word logos in ancient Greek means a lot of things. The word logos in ancient Greek means a story. It means logic. It means dialogue even at times. It means so many different things. Oh, Aiden liking the live. Thank you there on TikTok. You're the best. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. Folks, keep hitting that like button. Bene, bene, bene. And if those of you on YouTube, go ahead and share this around with your friends. Right? So logidia, right, are therefore small logoi. Right? Small logoi. The word logos in ancient Greek, like I said, can mean so many different things. It can mean a story. It can mean a chapter even. It can mean so much. And so here, logidia are small ones. The idion suffix in ancient Greek often is used as a diminutive suffix, right? You're still getting some language here, folks. A diminutive suffix means makes it smaller, right? So logidion, to logidion is a small logos. And so ta logidia are small logoi. And here, ancient Greek chit chats. So this is with me. If you want to join Andreas Ego, right, for a lovely adventure in ancient Greek speaking. Wow, thank you on TikTok, keeping up the likes, right? And they'll be chatting. There'll be free-form conversation. I'm going to come in every single week with a locution, a speech, a saying of some sort, a piece of speech, and we're going to talk about something that takes about half an hour to talk about. The class is only half an hour long, 1 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 sessions on Sundays. So if you want to inject yourself with some ancient Greek fun every Sunday for half an hour, this is a really great way to do it. If you also, if you're reading some ancient Greek and you really want to activate your ability to understand ancient Greek even better, the best way really to do that is by speaking and listening. And the total cost is $100, right? $12.50 a session. That's like 2 cups of coffee at Starbucks. Maybe even 1, depending on how much ingredient you're putting into it. So what you can therefore see here is that this class is going to be a lot of fun. We already have some people signed up for it. Come grab your spot if you want to speak some ancient Greek with me. All right. And along that vein, we also have its opposite, its counterpart in Latin, sermunculi. And as I said before about logos, sermo comes to mean a sort of similar thing to logos. It doesn't have quite as wide or diverse of a meaning set as logos does, but sermo in Latin is daily talk. Typically it's chatting, right? We get the Latin word sermo cinari from this, which means literally to sing like a sermo. The word cinari, the suffix cinari in sermo cinari is from the word cannere, meaning to sing, and sermo is a chat. So sermo cinari means to chit chat, to talk about stuff. So sermunculi are parvi sermones. The unculus suffix is a really common diminutive suffix used for third declension nouns that end in o, like testudo would be testudunculus. It's difficile vocabulum dicere. A latro would be a latrunculus, right? You take that sort of o ending, swap it out for an unculus, and that gives you your diminutive suffix unculus. So sermunculi are little Latin chats, Latin chit chats. It's the same thing. We're going to come in every week. I'm going to lead you in a conversation, right? And I love having conversations in Latin and in ancient Greek. So come join me for them in these sermunculi, where we're going to chat about things in Latin. And every single week I'm going to come in with a little piece of speech or something else that you can come along with. Thank you folks on TikTok for liking the live. And then you can have a conversation using a specific prompt that we're going to do. Those prompts can range from anything to what's your favorite thing to do in springtime to what's your favorite Roman author, what's your favorite book, all different things. Salve molto brandone, salve, salve, salve. Of course, I'm going to salutare omnes latine, neque Anglice, even though I'm speaking in English and mostly in this live of ours, still, non possum qui in loquar latine. I can't help but speak some Latin. Non possum qui in loquar latine. It's lingua optima. Ut vales brandone. Tell us how you're doing. Dicas ut valeas queso. Bene, bene, bene. So, as I was saying, you have a conversation with me every single class. It's a lot of fun, and it's only, like I said, for the previous one, for half an hour. Sundays at noon, 12 to 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. And I suppose I should have said in the beginning when this whole thing is running, from around May 5th or 6th to June 23rd, 24th, around there. That's when this term is running, for the month of May and the month of June, for some lovely Latin and ancient Greek fun. This seltzer's hella delicious. Love me a good potio spumans. Optime, Brandone, Gaudio te bene valere. And don't worry, folks, I will switch from English at some point, and we'll play some video games in Latin either later today or tomorrow. Bene. So those are the 2 courses that I'm teaching. Only 2. I know. Next up, I'm really excited to talk about this next course that we're offering. So, Bridging the Gap with Appleton and Jones's Pons Tieronum. Right, so this course is being offered by a dear friend of ours and really awesome Latin teacher, Holly Annula Russo. And Annula has been teaching Latin for quite some time at the high school level, the secondary level, as well as been teaching with Salvi, the Septentrionale Americanum Latinitatis Vivae Institutum, that is the North American Living Latin Institute, and in many other capacities. And so she is going to be reading and discussing with you all Appleton and Jones's Pons Tieronum, the gap, literally the gap of beginners. A tiro for gladiators was a beginner gladiator. It was a gladiator who didn't know yet how to fight, right? And so he was learning. He was called a tiro. And so the Pons Tieronum is the bridge of beginners. It's the way to bridge the gap from beginner to intermediate. And so this work, Pons Tieronum, was written by Appleton and Jones, who were both writers of the early 1900s and Latin teachers of the early 1900s, who pioneered, along with Rouse. I don't know why I rolled my R on that. Rouse, W.H.G. Rouse. Along with them, they pioneered what was called the direct method. Direct method is, to a certain degree, kind of a precursor of a lot of modern language learning methodology that is good language learning methodology, but it really does differ in some significant ways. Regardless, they wanted you to speak Latin. So what is this work about? It is narrated from a first-person view of a Roman schoolboy in a sequence of charming and fun vignettes, right? Fabellae. And so for those who have already worked their way through some lingua latina per se illustrata, and they want to really work their way to more advanced Latin, this book is a great bridge there. Because lingua latina, as much as it is a great book, lingua latina per se illustrata, it does have some flaws. One of which is that afterwards, you're not really yet ready for literature. Even though they give you some small snippets of literature in chapter 33 and 34 of lingua latina, some of which are from Catullus and Martial, the Bible, and places like that. Regardless of that, it still is not really quite, it doesn't prepare you quite enough to jump immediately to literature. And Roma Eterna is also kind of difficult. And so the bridge between those two is really large. And Pons Tieronum can be that bridge for you. This is going to be a wonderful course. And I'm jealous I'm not a Tiro myself to be able to take it. And I'm saying that sincero animo, sincerely. I'm not just saying that because it's a class that we're offering. And that class, sorry, let me actually go back over to it, is $150, right? Because it is $25 per course hour per session. It's on Tuesdays from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. EST, starting in May 7th, ending June 11th. And so there's 6 classes. It's going to be great. Ooh, someone on TikTok has asked, when beginning LLPSI, do you have suggestions for solidifying knowledge of the verb conjugations? Frankly, the best thing to do, and this is a great question and still is, in the ballpark, if you want to solidify verb conjugations, read, right? If you want to start solidifying the verb conjugations by sort of putting them into charts, you can do that. But really the most important thing is doing a butt ton of reading and a butt ton of listening, and those conjugations will solidify. If you feel that you're still not quite like having them as solid as you would like them to be, you can open up almost any Latin grammar, any Latin textbook, and look at sort of their charted endings and see how they combine. But really the best thing to do is a ton of reading and rereading. Rereading is just as, if not more important than reading in language learning. That is 100% the case. I can guarantee it. So this course here is great for bridging that gap. And it's going to give you a lot of reading and speaking practice, common and useful phrases. It's going to be fantastic. So let's move on from bridging the gap down to exorcismus sive spectrum in Erasmian dialogue. Yep, my pleasure, Aiden. They're on TikTok. Glad to answer your question. And all questions are welcome here, as always. So this is pretty cool, this course. So this course is being taught by T.J. Howell, Thomas Howell, who was Teacher of the Year according to the Society for Classical Studies, the SCS, formerly the APA, because he is a phenomenal teacher, and that is true. And we're very lucky to have him along with us here at Latinitas Animi Causa. So this course is $125 because it's $25 per course hour, and there's 5 course sessions. So in this 5-session course, they're going to be reading this really rarely read gem of Erasmus from his Colloquia Familiare about a prank on a foolish friend. So 3 of the sessions are going to be devoted to the exploration of the exorcismos in its language, and then the 4th session will be paired guided writing sessions, and the 5th a sharing of what's been written. So this means that you are going to have an opportunity not only to read Latin, but also to compose Latin with the guidance of an expert instructor, and then finally share out what's been read by other people. Damien Bolson, do you believe in Jesus Christ? That is not relevant to this current stream. So anyway, so that's something that's really great for this course that you can enjoy and read along with. So there's a written portion, but you will have guidance. You're not just going to be sent into the wilderness and say, write some Latin. But it's going to be something that's really, really fun. Trust me. Erasmian dialogues are so fun. Very often, they're full of jokes. They're full of fun anecdotes. And really, they're often easier to read than a lot of, like, Roman texts themselves. Largely because the context, the cultural context of Erasmus's time is just so much closer to the cultural context of our time. So Erasmian works can be really, really fun to read. Okay, so Erasmian Exorcismus sive spectrum optime. Okay, next up on our list, Under Pressure, Foreign Powers in Gaul, Caesar, Book 1, Novice Intermediate, Under Pressure. Bennett. So this one's $200. It's 8 courses, $25 per course hour. That's how you get that price. And this is done by Joe Josephus Watkins, who is a PhD candidate. I believe I'm using that terminology correctly, but he is a PhD student at Boston University who focuses specifically on historiography, including the Commentarii of Caesar, which per se are not historiae. You may or may not know this, but I'll talk about this a little bit, and that is that Roman history, there was a sort of different genres even of history, and Historia was a sort of fully fledged work that talked about a specific time period or whatever it might be. And so what Livy undertook, for instance, is Ab Urbe Condita is a history, it's a Historia. But there were other sort of smaller works as well. For instance, a monograph, which was when you were writing about one specific period or topic, and that's it, not looking at other periods, like things like Sallust wrote, and Tacitus also wrote a couple of monographs. You wrote about one topic, monos, in ancient Greek, one or only, and then grappos, writing. So here, we're going to be reading Caesar's Commentarii. What were Commentarii? Commentarii were sort of like notes, battle notes, or whatever the like might be, that were taken up by a historian to write a history. But Caesar's Commentarii were very well written. Cicero, in his, I think it's his Brutus, talks about Caesar's Commentarii, and he says that they're nudi, recti, et venusti. They are bare, nudi, they're recti, straight up, and venusti. They're kind of pleasant, right? All of 3 of those words also have sexual connotations. So they're naked, they're erect, and they're sexy, right? The idea is that if a historian took them up and wrote a proper history, a historia, based on the Commentarii of Caesar, then he would have ruined them. And so the Commentarii on their own stood very well. And Joe Watkins is indeed an expert in this field. He's currently studying for his doctorate and works specifically on these things. All the people that we bring onto our team at LAC are in some way experts in their fields. And here, in the summer of 58, Gaul was beset on 2 fronts. Germans to the east venturing across the Rhine, to the south, the Romans, led by the controversial Caesar, fresh off of his turbulent tenure as consul and looking for a second shot at a triumph. The Romans were about to finally settle a grudge kept for over 300 years, since Brennus humiliated Rome at the Battle of Allia. Pressed on 2 fronts and divided by innumerable and unrecorded internal conflict, Gaul was about to endure perhaps her most eventful decade yet. And so in this course, you'll be able to read selections of Book 1. Salve multum J! Salve, salve, salve! Gaudemos te ad esse! I must say also, it brings me great delight that even though I'm doing English in today's stream, everyone's still writing in Latin. Oh, summo pregaude hoc messe. So, you will get to read selections from Caesar's first book, obviously not the entirety of book 1, because it would take a lot more than 8 sessions to do that, but you get to read selections from Caesar, book 1, about Gaul and about all the things happening there. It is indeed great. This class does not expect nor encourage reading in advance of class, and this class will not meet on June 19th, Juneteenth. Great. So, awesome. You do not have to read ahead of time, which I personally also do in my classes and prefer. So, here's the schedule. Wednesdays from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time starting May 1st, June 26th. 8 one-hour sessions over 8 weeks. Brilliant. Did I actually say the time? Hold on one second. Did I say the time? Boop, 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 boop. Let me pull up the dates for this. I forgot to tell you all this. The schedule of this one is on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So this one's really friendly for those of you who are in Europe. Those of you who are in Europe and want to also get in some fun Latin time, Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. is probably more convenient for your schedule. And it's nice to start your Saturday morning with something productive and then continue the rest of your day. This is going to be a great option. So, we have talked so far about Logidia, small ancient Greek chats, Sermunculi, Latin chit chats. Sawe multum Boston word nerd, sawe, etiam es volup mihi te videre, bonum te videre, ut vales hodie, omnes scribite, ut valeates quaeso. We talked about bridging the gap with Appleton and Jones, exorcismus, depending, sive spectrum, and then under pressure. Next up, Quid Noi. This is for our advanced Latin learners. This one is being taught by Ariadne Belzer Carroll, an instructor who teaches high school in Georgia, but also has been teaching living Latin sessions for, honestly, I think more than a decade, longer than I, and is probably one of the best Latin speakers that I know who lives now. Each week, we will read an article or selection of articles from ephemeris and other sources about events happening around the world. Ephemeris is the word we use really for newspapers or other journals and things like that. Ephemerides. So, from science to culture. This class is not a controversial issues class. It aims to discuss current events and to challenge our linguistic boundaries with topics we don't frequently touch on in the L2. That is the second language, right? So, you get to talk about the news in Latin, which is harder than you think. Though the news, indeed, is something that is considered usually a B1 or a B2 fluency reading selection for people studying modern languages, because we don't have a lot of the language to talk about these things in Latin, this is actually a fairly advanced skill. And what I mean by we don't have a lot of the language, I mean is that we don't learn a lot of that language. That language is not taught to us. As a result, this is a pretty advanced situation. So for those of you who are advanced speakers, this will be the course for you. You will challenge you and push your boundaries. Ooh, Boston Werner's got a nerd question. Have you read anything about the Roman side of the Boudica Rebellion in England? I indeed have. I indeed have read things from the Roman side of the Boudica Rebellion in England when I was in graduate school. Not a lot of it do I retain, but what I had read, I enjoyed. Are you asking in English or in Latin, by the way? Boston Word Nerd. Bennett. This class is going to be on Sundays from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. May 12th to June 30th. 8 one-hour sessions over 8 weeks. $25 a session. How you get your $200 USD. Bene. So, talk about the news in Latin. Harder than you think. Either but interested in the topic. Yeah, Boston Werner. It's a really cool thing. I'm not a specialist by any means in the stuff of Boudica, but I think that she is super cool, and the stuff that I have read in graduate school was super, super great. And I should revisit a lot of it. I'm sure there's more to talk about that's super fun. Aqua placet. So, next up is Latin with Leggonium 3. So, Return of the Jedi. So, Latin with Leggonium 3, intermediate low spoken Latin. Leggonium, if you don't already know about Leggonium, let's look at Leggonium. Oop, that's not the right thing. Leggonium. Boop. Boop. Leggonium is run by a dear friend of ours whose name is Anthony Gibbons. He lives in Australia. And here he has a bunch of different stories and other things he's put together, all of which are illustrated using Legos. He's a Lego fan. Who isn't a Lego fan? So in this course, they usually read these stories, which are stories that are original to him. Season 1 prima, for instance. Let's look at this. You jump right in. Ciao eleitor, spero te bene valere, ego sum narratrix, mihi nomine Sophia, multas fabulas te multis hominibus scio, placene tibi fabulas adire, ego possum fabulas tibi narrare. So, we have, therefore, this lovely story about a guy named Marcellus, to start our first character, Marcellus, in fairly easy Latin, using wonderful illustrations. And this is being taught by Michael Meletus Sweet, who also has many years of educational experience, and he will be doing writing and reading of comprehensible, simple Latin inside of this course, which means it's a really great opportunity for you to practice and bring your Latin to the next level, because often reading really easy stuff is way better for us. Wow, we've got 3,700 likes rocking on the TikTok. Y'all are awesome. Thank you so much. You're awesome. Right, and we got 8 viewers joining us, 6 on YouTube and 2 on Twitch. Thank you all for joining us today. It's so great to hang out with you all. It looks like the bit rate is a little unstable. Awkward. Okay, so here you'll be reading that. And when will you be doing it? Saturdays, 10 a.m. to, oh, that should be 11 a.m. We got a typo, folks. Wow! We will change that right after this stream. 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. I promise you it's not an instantaneous class. You don't go in and boop, you're done. And typos happen. Nos quoque sumus homines, errare humanum est. So, you can see here that that is when this course will run, May 11th to June 29th. Latin with Leggonium 3. And it's the third one in the series, but you do not have to have taken Leggonium 1 and 2 to be able to do this class. You can jump right in at Leggonium 3 and still have a ballin' good time. Next up, Legendae Medievales Urbis Romae. So, this is going to be a wonderful set of selections and legends, because the word legenda, by the time of medieval period, means something like legend, even though it means the things that must be read, right? In classical Latin, is Legendae Medievales Urbis Romae. In this course, we'll read and discuss legends and misremembered histories of the city of Rome in the Middle Ages. These legends come from grammatically straightforward texts, mostly of the 12th and 13th centuries, that contemplate the ruinous state of medieval Rome and attempt to understand the present through fragments of the past. Highlights include magic mirrors, Augustus as crypto-Christian and first church builder, the Pantheon, temple of Cybele or Cubele, Mater Daemoniorum, a hellmouth and fire-breathing dragon in the Roman Forum, and the siege of Rome by an evil dwarf wizard king, and its salvation thanks to a young soldier, a cooing bird, and a full bladder. Wow. All those sound super fun and cool to read. Aiden is asking on TikTok, have I heard of the app Legentibus? Heard of it. I use it every single day. Legentibus is a wonderful app. Daniel Pettersson of Latinitium is a dear friend who puts that app out there. I recommend it to everybody who's learning Latin. This course is being taught by Dr. He's newly doctored, by the way. He's been newly PhD'd. Tyler Imbrex Patterson, who indeed did his PhD dissertation on medieval Latin, on Latin of medieval Rome, and specifically on stories just like these ones you'll see here. So he has a lot of really interesting things to add to the conversation, as well as a wonderful selection of texts that just sound super fun to read. So indeed, there's no actual reading ahead of class. The way that we do it often at Loc is that you don't read ahead of class. You don't prepare for hours and then come in and do the class. Why do we do that? Why is that the case? Because it actually is kind of a proper test of your ability to read and more of a leveling playing field if everyone's coming in with the same level of experience with the text, which often is not a lot, right? Except for the instructor. And then you get to really test your proper reading ability. Because if you prep ahead of time and then you come into a class of live reading, it's not really actually an accurate measure. And I say test, but I mean measure of your reading capability, right? Your reading capability in a language is based on your actual, not simultaneous, that's not the word I'm looking for, but your, at that very moment, understanding, your immediate understanding of a text. So This is running Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be super awesome. So for those of you who are in Europe, this will also be a more convenient time for you, running at around 5 to 6 p.m. If you're in medial Europe, like Italy and so on and so forth. But this could be a really convenient time for a lot of people. And this course promises to be very, very cool. I wish that I personally could take it, but I am in school at that time, unfortunately. Okay, next up, new here at Lock is Spoken Old English Novice. Now, there is zero assumption of Old English when you take this class, so you do not have to know any Old English going in. I know almost zero Old English. That's not entirely true. I did take an Old Norse class when I was in university, and Old Norse and Old English are not super, super far from one another. So my knowledge of Old English, however, is not great. Have you ever wanted to learn Old English? Now is your chance. This course is an introduction to the language spoken in England from roughly 450 to 1066 AD, and in Lock fashion, it will be conducted as much as possible in the language itself. No prior knowledge or experience is required whatsoever, right? This is a really, really cool opportunity to be able to learn Old English in this way. The instructor is Graham Graihama Shepper, who often is present inside of our streams, speaking also in Latin. His knowledge of Old English is extremely deep. He would have a lot to tell you about this inscription that we see here, which, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the oldest inscriptions that we find in Old English. He would have to correct me on that, because he is the person who sort of put the design behind this, of this Old English right here, which is super, super cool. When does this course run? Wednesdays, 7 to 8 p.m. EST. Ooh, I love to lucubrare, which means to burn the midnight oil, work at nighttime, and 7 to 8 p.m. means that I could still teach my day and then go take this class. And honestly, probably will. This is a super cool class for us to be able to have an opportunity to access Old English as well. We're expanding from just ancient Greek and Latin to also Old English. All right. We're reaching near the end, folks. We have a lot of really good classes here. A medieval mosaic of post-classical Latin to Electric Boogaloo, right? So the instructor for this course is Michael Miletos Sweet, who also teaches the Leggonium class. And he's going to be doing some post-classical and medieval Latin. If you don't know where to start, he's going to show you selections of post-classical Latin from A.W. Godfrey's Medieval Mosaic, a work from around 200 CE to 1400 CE. Sorry, works are from those years. This is a later compilation available from Borghese Carducci. So, very, very cool. Authors and works include Minucius Felix, Octavius, Sulpicius Severus, Vita Sancti Martini, the Venerable Bede, Cuthbert, Pope Gregory the Great, Walafrido Strabo, and many, many others. Wonderful post-classical Latin also usually means that it's going to be a little bit easier for you to read. And that's something that can really, really joyful, right? To be able to read something that you apprehend, that is comprehend right away. Super good stuff. So, this is a chance for you to get your feet wet. And when is it being offered? It is being offered on Tuesdays from 6 to 7 p.m. EST. Brilliant. So another evening course, which means that if you have a day job, you can access this right after your day job and go enjoy some medieval Latin. We love reading Latin from all ages. Each age brings something really valuable to look at. Okay. The final course we're going to look at is Locally atque Loquelai, which is available for any level. So, let's just read the description of this a little bit. Looking for a chance to chat about something in Latin? This mixed level Latin-speaking group will focus on discussing a different location that was part of or influenced by the ancient and medieval Mediterranean world each week. Lessons will be led by Miletus using images, maps, and short selections, there's your locally, from Latin text from all times in order to encourage free conversation, give all participants an opportunity to speak, and excite student interest in a wide variety of places outside the usual big tourist attractions that most people are familiar with. Of particular interest will be little places, locally, outside of Rome and Athens. So this is a mixed level course, which means that you can have various capabilities in Latin, but of course, all of them sort of have a basic understanding of Latin grammar. Most of our courses require that. They are Wednesdays, 6 to 7 p.m. EST, another evening course that you can enjoy. So, that is our spring term. That is our spring term right here, folks. And then finally, of course, is our consultation, which is you can meet with me if you have consultation work that you want done. Do you want something translated? Are you working on writing something in Latin? Are you working on producing a Latin podcast? Are you working on anything that is Latin or ancient Greek related? Do you want to talk about how to bring your fluency to the next level in Latin or ancient Greek? What specific resources might be beneficial for you doing that based on your current level? That is what I do. I am a Latin teacher in high school, but I've taught ages from 7 to 77, right? All over the world. And I specifically look at research and second language acquisition theory in Latin. I do reading in Latin so as to be able to bring you the best ways to learn Latin. And that's what our entire company is about. Our entire organization here, our society, our societas, is about bringing you Latin in a fun and enjoyable, effective and equitable way based on the research of how we actually do Latin, right? How you actually learn languages. It's not about memorizing dry grammar charts and then plugging them in to try to figure out how Latin works, because that's not language, man. That's not how language do. So we are here to help you, to bring you to that next level. So I want to open up. Are there any questions about any of the courses that we're offering? You can pop them in the chat below, or any other questions you might have. We are here for you all. So these are our courses for spring. They're going to be super fun. And I will change the typo that was present on there. Bene. How you folks doing today? Hit it up in the chat. I want to hear. I've been talking a lot. Do any of those courses stick out to you as something fun to take and do? I really hope so. Bene. Okay, folks. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to end this stream so that it stays entirely in sort of the theme of the English and so on and so forth. And I'm going to come back. And I'm going to play a Mission of Helldivers in Latin. And we can hang out together in Latin. Also, I've got to use the bathroom. So that'll be a good time for me to do that. So if you're here for some more Latin time, great. Jump in. It'll be a great time. If you want to hear about some of our courses, it's there. Sign up today. And we promise you that it will be a good time and you will learn a lot. Okay, folks. I'm going to go use the restroom and come back and play some Helldivers with you all.